Round 2 Pro Motocross. I got my Gypsy Excite Bike t-shirt on, and let's start talking about the Motos. Okay, first off, the elephant in the room is, when was the last time motos have been cut short? We saw Travis Pastrana have heat exhaustion in Daytona. I think he was really the only rider. I don't, what year was that? Was that 2006? Maybe? I don't know. Somebody's going to find it and see it. And they cut motos by 5 minutes for Moto 2s. And I don't see GNCCs ever being cut, or for that matter, pretty much the only time I've ever seen motos being cut is because of mud. So is this another safety thing? And yes, I contradict myself countless times about, they can't have their goggles off and blah, 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 blah. But what did we hear during round 1 with Hayden Deegan? He said that I don't want to race Supercross. I want to just race motocross because you have to be a dog. And when we're taking away 5 minutes, I mean, motos used to be 45 effing minutes, right? And I think there used to be 3 of the suckers. And so now it's just 25. And truthfully, the heat was bad. The track was bad because you couldn't keep any moisture in the ground. And, you saw like real choppy bumps. I will say Tomac's bike looked exceptionally better than what it did at Paris. That bike looked like it was working. The rebound looked like it was being sucked to the ground, where before it looked like it was packing and hitting him side to side. It was deflecting a bunch. So hats off to the Star Yamaha team for figuring that out. And I did see some things on the internet earlier this week about Hunter riding Jett's motorcycle, and I'm guessing was like, hey dude, ride my bike because it's working better. And so this was another really good race. However, just a couple asterisks. And the one thing is cutting the motos. I don't think they should have, because in the 250 class, you had Hymas not even race Moto 2 because of probably heat exhaustion. He said he was down on electrolytes. He had a stomach bug. And then what kind of makes him not look the best is Deegan shows up on the podium and he does say he's sick, but you can verbally or auditorily hear that he is sick, right? He said he couldn't swallow the entire time. And so that just defines being a dog for moto. And this guy was throwing down laps and he was moving the motorcycle around. He was charging pretty much the entire time until he got into the lead and he was able to kind of settle and manage the race. So that was pretty badass, in my opinion, that you have Deegan being sick and then Hymas not racing Moto 2. And I do really enjoy listening to Stewart's commentating because he gives some really good insight and he's got a little bit of comedy. So we really need to get Bubba's World and his podcast, the Rewind Show and everything. It needs to come back. And yes, Stewart, I know there's really zero effing money on YouTube with views unless you're a beast and you're making like 8 billion views every deal. We know how small moto is, but for the community that is here, we like hearing what you have to say, because something I was going to say as far as what happened to Tomac with falling over. As soon as you fall over, okay, all of a sudden, all the sweat that you've been hitting, it feels like you're all of a sudden in a sauna. And if anybody, I'm pretty sure 100% of the people watching this have been in a sauna before, it's awful. And then you pick your 220-pound motorcycle and now you're going to try to like go jump rope again, essentially, go exercise and run in the sauna. It's awful. And so for me, that kind of was sort of the anti-beast mode, was just getting stopped there. And it was Valentin Guyoid, I probably said it wrong, but the European that did not move out of the way for Tomac, and that's what screwed up Tomac's start. And truthfully, I said this a week ago, that in order for Tomac to beat Jett, he had to start in front of Jett. And that's exactly what he did here, right? And I truthfully think that I know, foot equal mouth when I'm talking about the whole Jett has 30% more in the tank, because Moto 1 showed the exact opposite, showed that he was getting left by Tomac. And poor AP again, losing the race on the last lap, which was almost like a mirror image of what happened in Moto 2 of last year with his teammate. You lead the whole fucking moto, and then the last bit, you get passed. You verbally, not, why do I keep saying verbally? You physically saw AP as he got passed on the outside shake his head, and then instantly the top blew off. The wheels fell off, and he went minus 15 seconds in a lap, and Jett almost got him. And that last lap, Jett, he smelt blood in the water, and so he attacked. So this is what I'm saying is, I do think that Jett still has that in the tank, but because of the heat and because of what happened last year and him being overconfident with jumping that downhill triple. You did notice that there was no more downhill triple. They smoothed that out, and they said, nope, nobody's going to do that. And during press day, I'm kind of digressing. We saw riders get landed on in press day in the women's class in a red flag during qualifying, which we don't see very often. So there's a lot going on here. The heat had a lot to do with this. But back to my point, Jett knew, hey, I need to get through Hangtown. If I want to win the championship again, I need to get through Hangtown, and I need to just potentially take an L. And so he just sat back, and I personally thought it was a strategic deal for him to not just blow all of his load right there in Moto 1, because then you're doing what Hymas did. You come back and you can't even line up for Moto 2 because it's effing hot. And you're like, I need to go do another 35 minutes, right? Or 25 minutes plus 2. Really 5 minutes doesn't make a whole lot of difference, but I'm digressing, right? Mr. Digress. So I think it was complete strategy for Jett. And then he come out, he got a really good start. And ironically, Tomac got a really good start. And we were seeing beast mode at hand until he fell over. And really, I think the broadcast should have talked a little bit more about AP, because that dude is fit as hell, being able to ride out front and be as smooth as he was, and, getting I believe it was second overall. It had to have been second overall with a 2-3, had to have, right? And so I am bummed that we didn't get to see Tomac race Jett, because that's really the consensus of this season is we want to see somebody fight Deegan for the 250 championship, and it looks like Joe might be the only guy, or we could give it up to the privateer Kobush. I want to try to get him on the podcast for Monday. We'll see if he hops on. He's got to accept my messages, but I'd love to get his view on what was going down, because he was really putting it to Deegan, which I thought was really cool. But then the 450 class is pretty much all about Tomac versus Jett. That's really it. The rest of the guys are fighting for the podium. Justin Cooper and maybe the Kawasaki guys can get up, and it's a bummer that Sexton's not there. It's a bummer that Roxon's not there. I think it's actually a really good thing that Roxon's not there, because he's always struggled with Epstein-Barr, or it's basically the same thing, just a different name, some fatigue syndrome. And so 35 minutes plus 2 times 11 is a lot, so we'll see him back at SMX and the World Supercross stuff. So let him relax. And it looks like Cooper Webb probably wants to just take off the entire summer. I think a lot of these guys want to take off the entire summer, besides Deegan. Deegan says he wants to just race moto and just moto. So our hopes and prayers are that Tomac can actually get a start ahead of Jett, put the beast mode down, and force Jett out of his comfort zone. Because again, what I saw with Jett, and make sure you see this week's video, is because what I saw from Jett was, again, the dude just rolling. Like I personally thought he was a fucking trail rider out there, because that's what it looked like he was doing. You know, he looks like he was doing an enduro rather than he was out there for the 3-hour GNCC, and supposedly what is a 25-minute sprint. He was out there yawning around, and you see guys like Tomac, he's out there elbow down, double clutching that sucker, loading it up, trying to get the NOS to shoot and just have the exhaust pipe just blow up behind him to scoot him forward, right? Two very different riding methodologies. And we pretty much can say that this is sort of, you've got the old and not in with the new, but just like innovation, okay, which is what it's coming to riding styles. And it looks so slow, but yet it's fast. And it's also, it conserves so much energy, the way he's just flowing back with the bike and letting the bike do all the work, where Tomac is literally forcing the motorcycle to do what he wants, as opposed to letting it do what he wants, right? Because if you picture what Sexton and Tomac look like on motorcycles, they're big SOBs, okay? And then Jett, yeah, he's tall, okay, but he's skinny. And yes, he's gotten thicker, but he's still skinny, okay? He's letting the motorcycle do a lot of the work. And Deegan, I believe, is closer to that Sexton and Tomac type just bulldog deal, where Cole Davies on the 250 is riding more like Jett, where you're letting the motorcycle do the work and you're just floating on top of it and keeping your momentum up. And I don't want to give too much away for this week's show, but it looks like it's going to be a good season. And please let these guys be healthy. And I'm going to try to be there at Thunder Valley. I just need them to accept my press pass. So I need to talk with MX Sports this week to be up there, so that I can give some pre-race footage that I know that the actual they're doing everything now. They're checking out the tires. They're doing all sorts of stuff, which I love it. Okay, I love it. Gosh, speaking of tires, just because I'm on topic with tires, the paddle tire, Dunlop. You literally say on your website, the paddle tire is designed for mud, sand, very soft terrain. Why are these guys there in 103-degree weather on a hard-packed, choppy, holy track, blue groove, running paddle tires? Make that make sense. Make that make sense, because it doesn't make sense. I know everyone's saying that we need to ban paddle tires. I mean, do we? But these guys have a spec paddle tire, right? So I need to try to find out, because truthfully, like, the paddle tire consistency is, it's supposed to be a hard rubber, okay, so that it can push through the mud and the sand. But I am almost certain that the spec Dunlop tires are soft compounds. So when I go there and I see the paddle tire, I'm like, okay, but I need to go squeeze it, right? To find out that it's actually a soft compound, so that it works during hard conditions. And that's something that is a question that should be asked for sure. And Prado, you guys are saying that Moto2 top 5. Yeah, it's crazy that you have an MXGP champ that is struggling in American motocross, but then during the MX, not MXGPs, but MX of Nations, we get our ass kicked, right? Make that also make sense too. And I think it's maybe because you've got works motorcycles versus our production motorcycles that are still fast, right? But I think Kobush proved that even a privateer, I want to say maybe a big bore, I don't know, can still get a hole shot. And that dude getting a hole shot from 22nd gate pick and leading for 2 laps was amazing. Absolutely amazing. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And hey, if you're riding tomorrow, make sure you keep it on 2 wheels. And you always wear a helmet. I had some messages this weekend that some fans lost some of their best friends because they rolled some four-wheelers and they weren't wearing helmets, right? So make sure, safety is key. Okay. So till next time, keep it WFO.